Welcome along to another episode of the Toon podcast. It's the Southern Hemisphere's #1 podcast for all things Newcastle United. We're here today to preview the Manchester City game coming up at the Etihad on Saturday night UK time, Sunday morning Australia time. I'm Jack in Brisbane. I've got Craig in Mackay, and we've got a guest to help us preview the game. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know who you are and what your story is?
Oh, my name's Alan. I'm from the Melbourne Blues supporters branch down here in Melbourne. I'm from Manchester, as you can tell from my accent, but I also go on the Mancunian Way fan channel on YouTube as well, so you can find me on there on a regular basis. I've been in Australia now, in Melbourne, since 2007. Still got a season ticket, and I've been a Man City fan since 1971, so a long time. So I've been through the good times in the 70s, and then go back down to the 90s when we had the difficult 80s and 90s when we were down, just like you were, and then back up again and been through the shit, and now it's all good. So yeah, so there's my real story.
It's a bit better than all good for City the way things have been over the last 15 years or so. So I'm interested in I'm interested in the sort of the comparison between, because obviously we've had our takeover as well a couple of years ago, but just before the takeover happened for Manchester City. So City were taken over in 2008, and between 1880, their inception, and 2008, City had won 9 major trophies. Newcastle have won 11 major trophies in our history since 1892. Post takeover in 2008, City have won 17 major trophies. That's not including the one they won today, the UEFA Super Cup. But they've got 7 leagues, 3 FA Cups, 6 League Cups, and obviously 1 Champions League. Alan, every trophy for you has probably got sort of a different feeling, significance. But if you can pick out one of those trophies that you've seen City win, which is the most special for you? Which are the real memorable ones for you?
I would suspect the first one in 2012. The FA Cup, the one before, was good against Stoke, but I think the Aguero moment, I went home for it. I was there. I think that was probably the most special one of the lot. And, you're going through a similar scenario as we did from 2008 to 2012 period, where you're building up to success. So, we know we won the lottery. We know that's what happened, because just before that we had Sitchin Sinawatra that took over, the Thai guy, if you remember, and he got all the money. He got all his money frozen, and it was him that actually helped find Sheikh Mansour. So, and he was the one that did deal, because apparently they knew each other through business, and he got Sheikh Mansour to buy Man City in 2008. And in them days, if you remember when Chelsea got taken over, the Premier League didn't have any rules until 2013-14, and that is the case when it's the case. So we could go full hog from the start, where you're restricted because there's rules in place, and you have to do it gradually. And obviously, you'll find out eventually that the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Tottenhams, the Man United will soon start complaining about you when you start winning things and try and tie you up with loads of court cases. So that, because trust me, it will happen, because they get bitter and jealous, and we're used to that. And but the fact remains that when we were taken over, we didn't have any Premier League rules, or UEFA rules didn't start till 2012, did they? So, and they did it to stop the Chelseas, the Cities, the PSGs, and basically to put a fine line on you guys, because you've just won the lottery as well now. So, and it will happen. You will, in the next few years, you will be up there challenging with us. I think you'll be challenging for top 3 this year, to be fair. So, So
we're going to talk about sort of how City and other clubs view Newcastle, but it's really interesting to hear you say that stuff about the other clubs. It's a kind of cozy club, isn't it? And they don't want anyone else coming in. And Craig, we've had experience, haven't we already, of Manchester United, Spurs have all sort of put their hand up and tried to block us getting sponsorships and things like that. But that's happened, Craig, already, hasn't it? So we've experienced.
It has, yeah. I mean, Spurs and Liverpool were the two clubs that didn't want the takeover to go ahead to begin with. That was well documented. But yeah, since we got the new shirt sponsor, the new corporate events, whatever be at the club, the so-called Big Six, or the majority of the Big Six even, have tried to put a stop to it because they know we can be and probably will be a threat in the years to come.
Well, it's not far away now, the way you're going. I just feel that when they started the complaints about Sheikh Mansour and all the money that he's got, and they were trying to tie us with Etihad sponsorship and all that sort of stuff, and even though Etihad's owned by the government, and I know he's the vice prime minister now, but that was only last year when he came in to do that. It's all about the money, and there's a little bit of racism in there as well, in my opinion. I think people don't like to say it, but it is, and you could see that from the Qatari World Cup, even though it was a good World Cup and it was run brilliantly. We can't escape the fact that they've got the money. Look at Saudi now with the Saudi Pro League. They've got the cash, and unfortunately, the rest of the world hasn't got any cash at the moment. And it's unfortunately, it's the way the clubs have gone. They've been taken over by these billionaires, and we're talking every club in the Premier League. I think there's only probably one that isn't, but. That's the way it is now, and unfortunately you can't do anything about it. But you will find the old, I call it the establishment of the Arsenals, Liverpool, Tottenham's, Man United. They want the monopoly where they're guaranteed Champions League football, and or the old European Cup, whatever it on the UEFA. They want the monopoly of being in them competitions to get the money, and they don't want anyone crashing their little party. Well, unfortunately. It's now a competitive league, and if in future I'm pretty sure you'll start winning things pretty soon. And I watched your game last week, and I was very impressed. Put that way, I think you've got a great manager. Yeah. I really do. I mean, he's a superb manager.
How about that?
Certainly, you can see the progression. You can see it.
Yeah. How about this this notion as well, Alan? That because City have had their takeover obviously by a Middle Eastern state. What about this? The thing that's happened now is that football supporters who you've supported City since the 70s, all of a sudden, football supporters have to become geopolitical experts just to follow the football club. Like there was a lot of that thrown at us when Saudi took over, and. You can kind of understand. You can kind of understand the reservations people have about it, but we're just football fans. We just want to follow our club. We're not going to stop that because our club's been sold, which we had absolutely no say in whatsoever.
Exactly. I just think that yes, you do, but like I can only speak what's happened at City compared to what they were like when they bought them in 2008 to today. Okay, what they've done in East Manchester and Central Manchester is incredible. They've not just bought loads of players and then, and done it that way. They've actually developed the club in a huge way. They've developed the infrastructure of the club in a huge way. The Sheikh's built 6,000 houses at the side of the ground, council houses for new tenants to go in there. He's developed the central Manchester. It's unrecognisable, and especially the east side of Manchester. And he's built a new training ground, which is basically around there was just an old lead factory and an old coal mine that was built on the slab across the road. It was around there was really rough and it was very run down. But if you go there now, it's incredible. So he hasn't just gone in there and just said, right, we're just going to buy a team and that's it. He's developed the whole infrastructure, whole area, and also spent money in Manchester as well to rechange. Even United fans say to me, we can't slag him off because what he's done for Manchester is absolutely incredible. And he's given all the things that were being built were all built from Manx. He's given jobs to local people. So all you can do is hope that the owner that you have does the right things to the club and has the right people managing it in the club, and that's all. That is all you can hope for, and make sure that the manager and the chief exec buys the right players, because United have spent more than us over the last 8 years, a lot more, and they've just had a pile of crap, haven't they? And the wrong managers, etc. Liverpool have tended to do it a different way. They've got a good manager though, so they tend to do it a different way. Chelsea's way they've done it is completely different. And how they're getting away with it, I do not know, to be fair, but it's as far as Newcastle are concerned, from looking outside, looking in, you'll know more than me. They seem to be doing it in the right manner. All right, you are restricted, you've got to do it on bit by bit, but you've got the right manager, and you seem to have good execs that know what they're doing. And I know they've been down to City to copy what they've done and how they've done it, and I know that City obliged with that, because I'm afraid you've got people in the Premier League, because the Premier League's members are the members of the league, and we know who has the power in the league. It's still the establishment, and they're the ones that push for all these charges and the 116 charges. I know bits of exactly what's happened there, so it's difficult. It's difficult.
And in terms of expectation management as well, how did Man City go about sort of managing fan expectation in the early days after the takeover, but also when they started winning things? Because we've seen it already where we unexpectedly got in the Champions League last season, and then that does change the dynamic and it changes the expectations, and all of a sudden we're expected to do the same again this season, and it might not necessarily be that easy. So how did City go about expectation management?
I think when we first took over, obviously everyone was excited. Yeah, all the fans were very excited about what could happen. And I remember seeing a newspaper picture on the back of the Mirror with Ronaldo, Messi, and all these names come out in the City shirts. False picture. Whilst that's great to dream, that wasn't totally the reality. But they did buy with people like Brian Marwood, which I know that's he's ex-Sunderland and Arsenal. He was at that point, he was in charge. He's still there at the moment, because I do know Brian. And he was the one that bought the David Silva, the Yaya Torres, the Sergio Agueros, etc. That group up Aguero, Mancini, other than Mancini, and he was the one that changed the mindset of the club to winning, just like your manager is doing right now, but on a different. Probably they can't do it as quick because of the rules that have been put in place. So it's difficult.
And this might sound like a bit of a daft question in some ways. But
it's difficult to work out. But one thing we did find out when we got.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay there, I think. This might sound like
just cut out there. One thing I will say: when we got in the Champions League, the fans didn't feel like they belonged in there when they first got in. There was a very mixed reaction towards the Champions League, and a lot. It wasn't necessarily when they tried to ban us. It was well before that when we were in. And I think fans didn't take it too seriously, and where I think you probably, because you've been in before under Kevin Keegan, wouldn't you? So King Kev, it's so at the end of the day, I think that we're very similar in what's happened, but you're on that starting journey. But it is exciting because now you've got a bankroll to help you.
Yeah. Craig, a lot of what Alan's just said there does resonate with us, doesn't it? It sounds like, and if we can be sitting here in 15 years and we've won 17 trophies, I think we'll be pretty pleased with that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to our first Aguero moment here. It will happen at some point. I'm sure it will. And I just can't imagine what a bill, because you were 2-0 down in that game as well against QPR, if I remember rightly. And Joey Barton went Raj and decided to headbutt whoever it was. But that moment will come for us.
Yeah, we went 1-0 up. I know, that's right. We went 1-0 up in that game with Zabaleta, and then they scored 2 goals. And then they were down to 10 men when they scored the second. And I remember being sat in the Colin Bell stand, kicking the chair in front of me, and nearly in tears. I couldn't believe what was going on. And we hadn't lost all season at home. We'd won every game. I think we drew 1 against Sunderland when we came back from 3-1 down. But it was incredible. The emotions that day, the players put us through every single emotion possible in 90 minutes or 95 minutes. It was incredible.
We'll have that moment one day. It'll get there.
Yeah, you will.
I cannot wait for when it does. It's been a long time coming. I've never seen us lift a trophy, not a decent one anyway. But yeah, it's not too far off into the distant future, is it, Jack?
Well, I hope not. And talking to a Manchester City fan, it whets the appetite for it, doesn't it? I've got a question though, Alan. That might sound a little bit strange, but does success get boring? You know, like when you've won that many trophies and when you're just relentlessly winning you're winning the Carabao Cup season after season. Does it get boring? Does it ever get where you just think, oh, it's just another one?
No. We try, and what you'll do is start gloating to your local rivals more, and they'll call it arrogance, but it's total Mickey taking more than anything else, and having loads of banter. But I will say this: it comes in 2 parts. One, the gloating, you'll enjoy every single second of it, but you'll find you'll get a different fan base coming through, especially the younger ones. So the younger ones that have never seen shit and been through the dark days like Division 2. I went every game home and away, by the way, when we were in Division 2. And the younger ones will not understand what we've been through. You've heard the saying, typical City. In those days, we could be winning 4-0 with 5 minutes to go and still lose. You expect things to go wrong. And the continuous soap opera at the club was constant. You know, the Peter Swales era and then Franny Lee, and we're going up, down, and went down to Division 2, the Gillingham day at Wembley, you know, United winning the treble in the same year, you know, and I remember going to Wembley that weekend. It was on Wednesday before United had won the treble and the European Cup against Bayern Munich. And I was hiding in my house. I wouldn't go out. So, you know, but what you'll find is the younger fans that come up and you start winning, they won't understand the shit you've had to go through to get there. So, but one thing you will resonate with you is you feel like you've earned the right for the success. And I know I've been up to St. James's loads of times, and I know how passionate the fans are up there. They're obsessed with Newcastle and the way they are. You know, I remember seeing the first time I ever was 1976 and we were in the League Cup final, and I went at Wembley with you guys, and I saw because you just invaded London. It was just you were everywhere, and that's the Geordies for you. They are obsessed with the club and passionate. So you will see a difference in the younger ones coming up when you start winning, to you guys who you've been through the shit and been up down. But from what I can see, you're certainly going in the right direction. I believe you've got the right manager, definitely.
Yeah,
very impressive.
Yeah,
you might lose us to the England.
Yeah, it's been really impressive that, like you said, the way that we've sort of got the right people in the right positions, and I think that's key because, like you said, Manchester United have got more money than anybody, but they've fucked it all up because they've just had the wrong people in key positions. So, I think it's been pleasantly surprising the way that we've gone about doing things, and there's no better club to kind of look at the way they've gone about things than the way City have done it, I suppose. Despite like you said, the financial restrictions we're under now, I think we'll definitely get there in the end. Moving on to this season, then, do you think, Alan, that there's a risk or there's any chance that City might? They've won the treble now. That they got the holy grail of the Champions League last season. Do you think there might be any complacency that steps in now, or that there might be a bit of a drop off, or it's Pep, isn't it? So probably not. He doesn't allow complacency.
You've just at the end, you've just said exactly what I was about to say. That was my thought, though. Before the season started, I was thinking, is the motivation going to be there? Are they going to just switch off, etc., etc.? That's what my thought was. But then you mentioned Pep. Will he allow that to happen? I can't see that happening. But what I will say to you is we're in a position now where at the end of the season, if you go back for 4 months when the Champions League was on, you've got Gundogan's gone. He was 33, 34. Yeah. Now he's 34, sorry. And you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's 32, just turned. You've got Mahrez was 33, going on 34. So you have players there you've got to transition out, over the next year or so. The only thing I was worried about was I didn't want all of them to go at one time, because there's only so many players you can bring in at a time and being able to keep it going. So I think we're going through a slight transition this year with Mahrez has already gone to Saudi, which at his age, fair enough, good luck. You've done well for us. Whether they keep Cole Palmer on there, who's only 21, whether they keep him there on the outside right or sell him, because he's at that age where he wants to play every week, which is understandable. I know they're looking at other players. Yeah, KDB's gone down. I think they made a mistake with KDB after the Champions League final when he came up with a ripped hamstring. And if you've ever played sport, ripped ones are dangerous because they'll always come back unless you go for an operation. And really, they should have taken him and got him then and done it straight away. He'd probably been fit for September, October if he'd have done it then. But now we're looking to the end of the year before he comes back, and then he's got at least 2 or 3 weeks of training before he comes back plays. But he's now getting to the age where you've got to look for a permanent replacement over the next year or so, if not now, because of what's happened. It's probably now. So they may be rushed into it, and I know they're looking at this guy from West Ham. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. But I think there's a transition going on. Gundogan's gone, and they've got Kovacic in there from Chelsea. So and he looks a decent footballer, and he's got a lot of experience. So I understand why he's coming, but he needs to score more goals. So I think we're going through a bit of a transition, especially this year, maybe even next year as well, because you've got to offload the ones that get older. They can't play forever, can they? So it's just the way we go. So we'll see. We'll see. I think, if we don't win it this year, I'm not going to win. We've just won the bloody treble, for Christ's sake. We used to fight against relegation and go drop down. I remember playing you at Main Road, and we were both in the championship. And when Kevin Keegan was manager, and you had Peter Beardsley and Waddle and all these players, and that was a great side. They were brilliant to watch. So I remember them days. But we'll see what happens. Yeah,
and City have signed Gvardiol as well, haven't they, the defender? So there was the bid for Declan Rice as well, though. So was that didn't come off? Obviously, he's gone to Arsenal, but City is still in the market, are they, to try and replace Gundogan and Mahrez?
They replaced Gundogan with Kovacic from Chelsea, because he's a left footer. Yep, and they're now going to try and get another player in because Kevin De Bruyne has gone down in that forward right-sided midfield role, but it has to be in a number 8 or number 10, and they're going for that lad from West Ham, the Brazilian. So that's who they're chasing. But Rice, I was quite happy that we didn't get him, to be honest with you, because I think he's a good player, but is he worth 105 million? No. He's not worth that kind of money.
You've got Rodri.
I would say he's
Rodri there as well, doing
Gareth
the same
Barry
thing.
Type footballer.
Yeah, and Rodri's been amazing, hasn't he, for Man City?
So the defender we've got. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, and I think his first year, everyone wanted him out and drop because he just wasn't up to the pace. And it usually takes players at least a year to get used to playing the Pep way, because he plays a certain type of football and players don't know what they're doing. And but now he's a Rolls Royce. He's an absolute Rolls Royce now. He's a great footballer. And Phillips is struggling, you see, with it. I don't think Phillips can understand what Pep wants. I think that's why he's struggling.
Yeah, it's pretty specific what he demands, isn't it? It's very demanding, and Grealish took time to get up to speed as well. But last season, Newcastle and Man City played out a 3-3 draw at St James's Park, which was a fascinating game. It was really entertaining game. And then in the return game, it was quite a comfortable win. In the end, it was a comfortable win for City, but we had our chances in that game as well. We could have caused an upset that day. But we talked a bit about Newcastle before, but did City generally regard Newcastle as kind of rivals for top kind of Champions League or top ends of the table now, or is it still sort of Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, the main sort of rivals at this stage?
I think you're finishing. I think you'll finish. I personally think you'll finish in the top three. For trophies, yes, you are. This year, you are. You've got a better squad because you have to in the Champions League, which you get. So I think you are competing for trophies this year. Might not be for the Premier League, but certainly for the cup competitions, you need to be. You got to the final against United. You should have beaten them because they're crap. But I think you will compete. I think you definitely will compete, and I think top three is a realistic goal for this year. I think you might even, Arsenal will be there definitely. I think Arsenal definitely with the squad they've got on this and with the manager. I think he's good. Pep's apprentice, and then I think that I'm not sure about Liverpool. I'm not sure about Liverpool if they're going to be top four. United will be there. I think they rate the manager, but it's whether they can get consistency or not. That's debatable. Chelsea look good at the moment, but who knows what can happen with Chelsea at the moment with what they've been doing. It's whether they've got a good manager. I think we all agree on. He's a top manager. Yeah. So he might settle things down. So they'll be there as well. But I can't see you not making top three. Definitely.
I think.
You have to go for a trophy this year. You have to.
Yeah. Looking at the first game of the season and sort of drawing too many conclusions can be a bit risky. But Craig, it was good, wasn't it, to see us basically go out against Villa and play the same way that we've played all of last season, and we absolutely smashed them in the end. And it was really good to see the new players come on and score goals as well. So I think that was the most reassuring thing for me, Craig, from last week, was just to see us carry on the way we were going last season when we caused a lot of problems for teams.
You look very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it shows we're not a one-hit.
You look a very good side.
We'll continue on. We can pressure teams.
I watched the game at the weekend.
Yeah. So let's have a look at potentially what the teams might be for the weekend.
You look brilliant. I like the centre forward. He looks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the weekend.
So this was. Yeah, go on, Alan.
Do you want the side for this weekend?
Yeah. So this was. I've got the slide up here of what we thought. This was the team from the weekend after De Bruyne went off. So you had the back four, and then you had Rodri. Craig's put a little H in there, so it's the Welsh version of Rodri. And Kovacic in midfield, and then there was Silva, Alvarez, and Foden, and obviously Haaland up front. Pep's Pep. So like this, it won't actually look like this in practice because he does weird things where he puts fullbacks into midfield and all sorts of stuff, doesn't he? But is this kind of how City are likely to line up?
Yeah, they usually play 3-box-3, but what they tend to do is when City have got the ball, if Stones is playing, he wanders into midfield from the fullback position. or if Lewis plays, he wanders in there. It's only one of them will wander in. When, let's say, you get the ball, you'll see them go into a 4 or even a 5 because Rodri might slip back in here. Okay, that's how he works it. So when they've got the ball, he overloads the midfield with another guy. Okay, and Rodri will tend to sit, but occasionally they'll push one of these guys, Rodri, or because it will tend to go forward as well. But he overloads the midfield, so basically outnumbers you in midfield when he's got the ball. That's why they retain possession so well. So that's how he works it. It's either Lewis or Walker. Walker doesn't do it as well. So it would tend to be Lewis, who came up from the youth team and is used to playing that way. Okay, so he tends to work it that way. But I don't think Walker will play at the weekend. I think Stones is back fit again. I think Stones will come in and play out there. I don't think Lewis will play. He's, at the end of the day, he's in and out, very young. He's only 18, 19. He's got a lot of talent, but he can tend to get bullied because he's so young. So I think that the new signing Guardiola might play out there, or Aki might play there and Guardiola plays in here. It's debatable at the moment whether Diaz is fit because he had the concussion of training, and I think there's a 10-day rule in place. So if that's the case, if he's 10 days, then he might not be playing. But from what I've seen, when he's not playing, our defence can look all over the shop. They were over the shop this morning. When Diaz is there, he's like that company influence where he's sort of organising them and they look a lot more solid when he's there. He's the leader at the back, definitely. I think you'll see Rodri sitting in there, and I think because KDB is not playing, Silva will probably slip into midfield and play in there where KDB is for the time being, and you probably see Foden on the right and then Grealish on the left. And then Haaland up top.
And how has City's tactics and style changed with the introduction of Haaland? Because obviously you're going to stick a 50, 60 goal a season striker up front. You're going to play him. So did that change the way that City played? Because before it was lots of nice little triangles, wasn't it? And now it's just a bit more direct.
Up until January, City struggled with him being there because they were so used to playing a false 9. And they couldn't. They were wanting the ball to be fed because he's good when he's running onto it because he's quick as well, very quick, and strong. So he's better when it's like that, or getting the ball out wide and they get to the byline and whipping it across. I think they struggled till about January, and then things started to change when he got used to what they were doing. But I think it was more a case of we were struggling with him there. But they got used to it and they worked out a system to try. And City will occasionally, if Newcastle press too much, you'll see Edison, our keeper, go long because he's as good as a midfielder. His passing is incredible, and it's a long ball. So and when they defend, they'll want you to come onto them because they do that. They'll pass around you. They're just too good to do it, and they are very, very good at doing that. But Haaland, Haaland could only have 4 or 5 touches in a game. You think, we've got him sorted. Then he'll bang 2 goals in. He'll just come out and bang 2 goals in, so you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful with him. Yeah. And he's at the end of the day, he's going to miss KDB because KDB can find him. So we'll see if we're buying him or not.
Let's say that you're at work tomorrow and your phone rings and it's Eddie Howe, Alan, and Eddie says to you, "How are we going to beat Man City on Saturday night?" What are you going to say? What are you going to say to him?
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. But from what I saw in Newcastle last week, they're a real threat. I thought because we only played 2 pre-season games compared to other teams that played maybe 4 or 5.
We had 7, yeah.
I thought we looked undercooked in the Charity Shield, and certainly undercooked last night against Burnley. we tend to probably get tired towards the end. So I don't think we're at full tilt yet. Nowhere near, probably till about October for fitness. And I think if there's any time at the moment where we are, especially with the injuries we've got, I think if there's any time to try and get a result at the Etihad, I know you've not had a great time there, it's now. Without any doubt. Without any doubt. So I was after watching you last week and I watched the whole game, I went, oh shit, this look a bit useful. And they do look useful. You look quick, very quick.
This sounds pretty positive, doesn't it, Craig? This sounds quite positive. We're not usually positive going at the Etihad, but let's have a look at what we think that our team might be. Craig, this is the team you've selected, so want to talk us through it?
Yeah, so familiar backline as per. So Pope in goal, Byrne at left back, Botman and Shaw in the centre of defence. Shaw apparently has been training on his own over the last few days, but that is just a precaution apparently. So hopefully he is good to go. Trips out on the right-hand captain. Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno making up that midfield. Gordon up top on the left. Miggy up top on the right. And Big Dog Isak up front on his own.
So this is unchanged from the team that beat Villa so convincingly. I don't know if you've seen much of Isak, Alan, but he's a quality player. He's probably in the level just below Haaland in terms of strikers.
I watched him last week. And I was very impressed with him. He's quick. Yeah. He's very direct, extremely direct, and he's got a lot of ability. You can see it. And I was very impressed with him. Trips I know anyway because he's from Bury, and that's where I'm from. And I used to see him around in Bury when he was a young kid, so I know who because he was at City as well, if you remember.
Yeah.
So he's from the Greenmount area, which is where I'm from, Tottington Greenmount area. So I know who he is and what he's about and stuff like that. He's a good footballer. He's made a big. The reason, obviously, he's a bit of a leader at the back, isn't he? A bit like Diaz is for us. So he organises and he's lethal from free kicks. We all know how good he is at free kicks, even for England and stuff. I do like this new lad you've got in midfield from Italy, Tonelli. He looks quite useful. Decent pass.
He was fantastic last week, and you've got Joe Linton in there.
I'm not sure about Gordon. I'm not sure about Gordon because I watched him at Everton. He's lost a bit of weight from what I've seen, and if you can get him faster, he's quick. But you've got a reserve for him in there with Barnes, who's very quick. Harvey Barnes is very quick and very direct. So at the end of the day, you're building the squad, which takes time. So
it's fascinating as well when you get two managers like this who are so tactical, who are so good. The Premier League is so good for managers now who are top quality. Coaches as well, who are just clever, smart people, and they're going to have plans to how to cancel each other out and how to target each other's weaknesses as well. So I'm actually feeling pretty positive after talking to you about our chances at the weekend, which is very unusual.
You're catching us at the right time because we have got injuries to crucial people, and our best player's not playing because let's face it, KDB is our best player. He's out for 4 months. We've still got quality individuals, especially Foden, because Foden can play in 5 or 6 different positions and still be quality. And that's the thing. Foden can play on the right, which I think is good. He can play on the left. He can actually play centrally. He can play Foden in KDB's role and be effective. He can play false 9. And all the positions he plays well. He's technically a very, very good player. So it depends on what Pep sees as your weaknesses. He'll play him. He'll tend to play him where he feels he can do damage to you. And what City do quite well is they rotate players during the game. They move around and swap positions, and it's good when you see it when it goes well. It's like teams don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. But I think a lot depends on how you defend against us as well. If we get momentum and go forward, how you defend. Because when I've seen you at the Etihad, your defence has been all over the shop against us.
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest problem.
Yeah, I think he might stick Foden on Dan Burn.
How's your centre? How are you defending?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Botman's a great centre-back, young centre-back, and Cher's been good as well. But the problem last season was Dan Burn. He got isolated against Foden. Foden scored, and then we did have some chances of our own, and then Bernardo Silva scored probably against the run of play, actually, just after the second half. So I think it's going to be, from what you're saying there, we'll do some predictions for the game. We do this every podcast. From what I think, a couple of years ago it was 5-0 at the Etihad. Last season it was 2-0. So we're getting better. We're losing by less each time. I think we might get a draw this time. I think it might be a 1-1 draw, and then maybe next season we can go and win. Craig, your prediction?
I'm going to put my neck on the line, be overly positive. I'm going to say sneaky 2-1 win.
Brave. Alan, your prediction?
I think it'll be 2 each.
2 each.
I'll take a point all day long.
Absolutely. And like I said, what a pleasure for us to be going to the Etihad and not thinking we're going to be on the end of an absolute pasting. And it's not a free hit, is it? We used to see this game as a free hit, but now it's an opportunity to show what we can do. And
your top four, you've got to play to win.
There we go.
Not anymore. You're going to go to the Etihad and just play, because if you play for a draw, you'll get murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to. I think your manager will go for us.
Well, he did that last season at St James's, and nearly paid off.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. All right, Alan. Thanks very much for your time.
Well, thanks for came back on.
Yeah. Thanks for talking to us tonight. It's been great to get the insights. Take care, and Craig, have a good one.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, Alan.
Soon. All the best. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.